he's taken like a severe psychological and I guess philosophical turn. A bunch of like interviews and clips of him discussing things where you're like, whoa, like this guy he's not talking like Jim Carrey, the world famous A-list actor. He's like talking like some guy who's just trying to sort of understand his place in the universe. He's just thought about life and things. He must have had like some psychedelic experiences too.
For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy.
He's taken like a severe psychological and I guess philosophical turn, a bunch of like interviews and clips of him discussing things where you're like, whoa, like this guy he's not talking like Jim Carrey, the world famous A-list actor. He's like talking like some guy who's just trying to sort of understand his place in the universe. He's just thought about life and thinks he must have had like some psychedelic experiences too. For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy. And docile Joe Rogan has never been one to hold back, but this time he had a dire warning for none other than Jim Carrey, because he's just talking about like what matters and what doesn't matter. Something's definitely off, because Joe thinks Hollywood has met with Jim in ways we can't even imagine, mentally, physically, the whole deal, because there is no need, no self. Jim Carrey is gone, actually never existed, and I know that now, so I'm able to take gigantic chances with this thing that people know. And here's the thing, no one really took Jim seriously when he started opening up about his experiences in the industry. What exactly has Jim gone through behind the scenes? Hollywood didn't want on no more, cause he did this thing called Duck Soup that bombed him, or Duck something, Duck Factory, and it bombed, and so they were cold on him. It seems like Hollywood's glittering facade hides some disturbing secrets, and Rogan believes Carrey might have gotten too close to the fire. But why wasn't anyone paying attention when he started to change? Could this be another case of Hollywood chewing someone up and spitting them out? Let's find out. The people that think outside of the norm saying in like whispered hushed tones, there's a certain ideology that's attached to that city, and it's not logical. It seems like Joe has been trying to give Jim a heads up about all the shady stuff that allegedly happened behind the curtain in Hollywood, especially when he talked about the pressure actors face just to stay in the game. That the pressure of that gig is just so crazy, yeah. And maybe it's the same pressure Jim also had to deal with during his prime time in the industry. But why over the last few years, Jim has been increasingly vocal about the sketchy things he's witnessed in the entertainment industry. And let's be real, he's been in the game long enough to know what goes down behind those closed doors. But every time he tries to speak out, it seems like Hollywood is ready to shut him down. Is it because Jim knows something bigger that they don't want the public to hear about? I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. Jim isn't exactly a stranger to controversy, but in recent years, it seems like the industry is specifically trying to silence him. We've seen the interviews. He's been hinting at the deeper issues in Hollywood for a while now. He's called it a machine that chews people up and spits them out. He's talked about the fake smiles, the hidden agendas, and the creepy underbelly of fame. But for every statement he makes, the backlash is immediate. Talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track. And that's what Joe said during his podcast. He emphasized how Hollywood actors often feel compelled to shape their personalities to align with the expectations of those who hold the power to grant them roles in movies. He said, in Hollywood, the problem is that you're chosen for everything, so you're being cast in these things. You have to deal with people that approve you or pick you, so you're formulating your personality based on whatever the zeitgeist is, whatever the ideology of most of the producers are. But why? What is Jim saying that's hitting so close to home for the industry? It's almost as if they're afraid he's going to expose something even bigger than what's already been revealed. We know that Hollywood is no stranger to scandals. Just look at the Harvey Weinstein situation. But if Jim Carrey, someone who's been part of the Hollywood elite for decades, is speaking out, then we must pay attention to it. I don't exist. So they're all characters that I played, including Jim Carrey, including Joel Beisch, including any of those things. They're all characters. While cancel culture is running rampant in Hollywood right now, we've seen so many celebrities get taken down for speaking their minds or for getting caught up in something controversial. and Jim Carrey seems to be teetering on that edge. He's been targeted before, but lately it feels like the industry has made him one of its main targets. He's been called crazy, ridiculed in the media, and even sidelined for major projects. Why? Because he's not playing by Hollywood's rules anymore, and shockingly, this is what Martin Freeman said about Jim, who even worked with him in a movie as well. And I'm genuinely sure Jim Carrey is a lovely and smart person, but it was the most self-aggrandizing, selfish, narcissistic bollocks I've ever seen. Freeman never really got into the nitty-gritty, but it was obvious that Jim Carrey rubbed him the wrong way. And this isn't the first time we've heard something like this. Tommy Lee Jones had his own issues with Jim after working together on Batman Forever. Jones actually admitted that he couldn't stand Carrey. Jim even shared that story with the late Norm Macdonald during an interview, and he got up and he went like this, and he went like to hug me and said, "I hate you, I really don't like you." You'd never guess this kind of drama was brewing behind the scenes, especially since Tommy Lee Jones was holding his own in every scene with Jim Carrey in Batman Forever. But this is just one of the actors who's had beef with Jim. You can bet there are plenty more out there. It probably has a lot to do with how good Jim is at stealing the spotlight in anything he does. It's tough to outshine Jim Carrey in a scene, so it makes sense that some act might get frustrated when they're no longer the center of attention, especially if they've been the stars their whole lives. Incidents like these could have definitely contributed to Jim distancing himself from Hollywood later in his career. "I could have done several sequels with several characters, but I felt like that, life is too short. I want to move on. I want to create. I want to annoy people that are, businessmen that want to take advantage of me. Is this just cancel culture doing its thing? Or is there something deeper going on?" It might be possible that Jim hit a nerve with the people in power, and now they're working overtime to discredit him. He's hinted at it before in interviews, talking about how the entertainment industry is built on manipulation, lies, and the exploitation of talent. He's called out the superficiality of it, all the way celebrities are used to push certain agendas, and how once you stop playing the game, you're discarded. Fast forward to today, and Jim's been on a spiritual journey far removed from that world of flashy cars and fake smiles. This new perspective has given him the ability to call out the hypocrisy and toxic vibes in Hollywood. Take Will Smith's slap incident at the Oscars, for example. While most people were quick to point fingers at Will, and yeah, he was definitely in the wrong, Jim's focus wasn't just on him. His real frustration was aimed at the culture in Hollywood that made Will think he could get away with that kind of behavior. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless. But what if Jim has seen things or knows about secrets that go beyond what we've already heard? We've seen other stars speak out about how Hollywood has a dark side. Ricky Gervais made headlines for his brutally honest Golden Globes monologue, calling out the hypocrisy in the room. He didn't hold back. He ripped into the hypocrisy of the industry, calling out celebrities for acting all morally superior while living these lavish, disconnected lives. He even called out some of the big executives for preaching ethics while running shady business practices behind the scenes. Ricky had the whole room squirming, and you could feel the tension as he laid out the ugly truth about Hollywood's double standards, and it was all directed to freshly released Jeffrey Epstein's court documents. Ricky had called out the stars in attendance for being friends with Jeffrey Epstein and said, "In this room are some of the most important TV and film executives in the world from all different backgrounds, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow, famous journalist. He's coming for you." He was warning that no one was going to leave, and now seems like Jim proves to be the threat for this industry. He seems to be suggesting that there's something even worse going on, and every time he tries to address it, he gets shut down. What's even more concerning is how Jim's retreat from Hollywood seems to have taken a toll on him personally. Friends and fans have noticed a dramatic change. This was the guy who lit up every room, the guy who made people laugh for years, the life of the party, but now he's apparently holed up living in self-isolation, barely a shadow of the man we once knew. Ever since he stepped back in 2022 to focus on his art, he's been out of the public eye, and people are worried. Is it just the toll of fame, or is there something bigger going on behind the scenes? And depression is your body saying, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you created. We've seen this kind of thing before. Celebrities who